Good morning, everybody. So I just finished a stream and I went back through the video and things were screwed up. The audio was screwed up. It was just not a good video. I cannot be putting that out into the world. So what I'm going to do right now, this is a first. You saw it in the description for the video. This is a video redo or a study stream redo. So we're going to redo everything that we just did. Spent an hour. I've already deleted the video from Twitch because it's just not worth it. I'm never going to upload that crap up to YouTube. So, basically I'm starting over, just redoing the whole stream right here. Let me just share it real quick on Twitter that we are doing the redo. Share it on the Facebooks. The Facebooks know it. The Twitters know it. Okay, the redo has begun. So yesterday I said we were going to learn from this Black Rain article how to conduct a poker database review. But midday yesterday I realized, wait a second, I haven't hit LeakTracker yet. We've got to hit LeakTracker during this week for sure. So we're going to hit LeakTracker today after we practice some hand reading on my own range in this instance, and after that we'll hit LeakTracker, and then of course we'll filter for that #1 leak to see if we can't find some spots where I need to be improving my game, working on those leaks, fixing them leaks, Good. So if anybody's chatting out there, please shout out to me. So let's see here. First up is hand reading practice. Open up the database, of course. Hand details. Went to showdown. Alrighty, so like always, this shows us our showdown hands like we've been doing for the hand reading practice. But we've been looking at, because ACR, you only see your opponent's hold cards when they beat you in the end. Because if they muck their hand when you win, you'll never know what they had. But now we can actually go through a winning hand right here. Let's look for one with maybe some good action on it. Raise, bet. Oh, that's pretty nice. 65. Oh, let's go through this right here. We raise, we bet again. Get some good value out of somebody. Let's take a look at this hand for sure. So yesterday you saw me use one of Split Suit's templates for hand reading. Well, altogether there are 3 different templates. The first template he gives is one for hand reading your own ranges, which is what we're going to be using today. Do I already have it open? Yes, I already have it open, our ranges. The other one is what we used yesterday, hand reading the opponent's ranges. And the third one is hand reading with range versus range. So yesterday was opponent's range. Today, our range. Tomorrow, we're going to do range v range practice. Which will require Flopzilla and Hold EQ. So we're going to be using this one today. As always, Fropzilla, gotta have that out. Cool beans. So we've got the 5-6 suited in this hand right here. Do we come in for a 3-bet? Do we just call somebody's open? Or do we open ourselves? Let's see. We open ourselves. Great. I love it. Okay, good. So this is a hand. Holy Stromboli. Okay, before we get there, wow, what a frop. What a frop. Let's see, 5-6 of clubs, of course, is what we are hand reading ourselves in this instance. So we're not going to put in dead cards 5-6 of clubs. Let's just give our opponent, it's obvious we open and they called. We don't know anything about them. Let's just put them on, I don't know, Jack 10 suited. It doesn't matter. The basic thing is we're hand reading ourselves right now. So Jack 10 suited. What are we opening with here? Well, I can tell you that my opening range is roughly 31% right here. This is what I normally open. You could see we're actually at the bottom of our suited connector opening range. I generally don't open 5-4 suited. I'm not a big fan of that hand. 6-5 suited is where I go with that. At the lowest suited connector. We also got the suited kings, suited aces, all the aces, of course, because we're on the button. Now, a lot of players would be opening 45-50% of the time. That's just not my style. It's just not the way I do things. I like to stick to the game that I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable with the tight aggressive style. So I roughly 31% or so. Fold to c-bet 83. So actually, in this instance, I would probably raise a little bit wider because he's an unknown and because he does fold so much. He's a rather nitty player. So actually, I would often raise a bit wider because I can expect a lot more folds. So let's definitely add these ones in. Okay, so we're at a 36% range. Let's remove those cards for now. We're at a 36% range. So, hand number 852602. 742. 85 26 02 742. The date on this hand was 225. I enter this information in just to so I can go back and find this hand again quick and easy, you know. So 25 NL 6 max table. I open the button wider than normal because of a nitty big blind and unknown small blind. Alrighty. So don't need that. My pre-flop opening range is really wide. Of course, I still have aces and kings and all that good stuff in, as well as a lot of the weaker stuff right here. I will often cap it at like queen 7 suited. Occasionally, I'll open those, but let's stick with kind of like your average opening range against 2 foldy blinds right here. So open that up, copy the range. So my pre-flop range is right there. And as we can see, 486 combos at 36.7%. Great. So that's a good start to the hand right now. We've got a really decent range against a lot of players who could be calling a lot wider, especially out of the blinds. Some players call every suited hand, and we have position post-flop. So I'm fine with getting to the flop with this range right here. So next we get called by this guy. We see that amazing flop. Let's just say he has Jack 10 suited. Doesn't matter. We're just ranging ourselves. So 4, 7, 8, club, diamond. Right there. Holy cow. We flop, because, you know, we have the 6-5 suited, of course. We flop the open-ended straight flush draw with a straight at the time, which is great. We've got the nuts right now. Nothing can beat us currently. So we're loving this. We probably want to bet for value, but let's see what happens. What if he donk leads? Nope, he doesn't. So we bet out 111 into 175. So right around 60. This is something weird that I've been seeing with PokerTracker 4 and with ACR recently. My normal bet into 175 would be 67 or 2/3 pot, so 67%. It would be $1.17, but it's a little under. I don't know what's going on. 111 would mean I am actually typing in 1.11, which I just wouldn't do. That's just not me. That's something I used to do when I tried to get cheeky with my hands and my bet sizing, but I just don't do that anymore. I type in 2/3 and I scroll up or down to an even number, or I just type in 2/3 and bet that. I don't know what's going on with the bet sizing right here. I need to someday, actually I can do this today. I can go back through a game tape, watch the game tape, and match up my bet sizing on the game tape with my bet sizing here in PokerTracker 4, because that is off. There's no way I would type in 1.11 here. No way. Anyway, we do decide to bet. What does he do? He calls. Bummer. Too bad he didn't shove. What's his stack right here? Oh, full-size stack. Great. So things are looking pretty. So what are we at this point? 1 second. Computer is warming up, so had to turn on the fan. Working off of my laptop that can tend to overheat sometimes. Cool beans. Okay, so we flop the Nutter Butters right here, which is great. Plus the open-ended flush draw, straight flush draw. Not exactly free rolling, but pretty darn close to it, you know. So what is making this bet? Well, he is an unknown, and I want to get the max value out of the guy. I don't know what he's capable of at this point, so I shouldn't want to slow play. You know, I have the nuts. It is susceptible to turn, you know, run a runner or even just a random club, and he has a better ace X of clubs, whatever. It is a little bit susceptible, so I want to bet to get value out of every hand, and I don't know what the guy's capable of. Why not just go for max value here? So I'm good with that bet. But what would I make this bet with? Of course the straights, of course sets, of course 2-pair, of course an overpair, just trying to get value out of maybe a random 8 that called pre-flop. I'm betting my top pairs. I think in this instance I'm probably betting. I'm betting weak pairs too, just because I don't know the guy, trying to throw out the c-bet bluff. Hope he folds versus my weaker pairs. I think I'm doing the ace highs as well. No made hands or all those kings, but a lot of them are over cards. The 9-6 is open-ended. King 6, I mean, King 6, King 5 have gut shots. King 3, King Deuce suited. I mean, if they're diamonds, could hit something good. So I'm going to have to say here that we can keep out the no made hands, but it's pretty much most of the rest of our combos once I click these other filters right here. 2-card gut shot plus over cards. I mean, we got 405 and we're taking out 4 combos. What are we taking out? What's getting removed here? That is not King 9. King 9 offsuit is getting removed. The one or I think there's something very small is getting removed right here. So at this point, we've basically kept in our entire range of 405 pre-flop combos till now. One thing that you'll notice is, okay, it said 486 combos in our range. But of course, that was before the flop and before we entered our opponent's hands in. Once these are in, it blocks a lot of these combos, of course. So our pre-flop range, let's say we had a random 9, that even drops it from 405 to 387. So this number will keep going down. But originally, we started with 486 combos. So what do we got here now? We bet, we're saying with just about everything, 401 combos. Now, if we hit this range button, this range is the exact, it says starting hand. This is the starting hand range right here. If we want to find our new filtered range, what you have to do is hit Control, Alt, and T. And that's the range import export. It brings this up so that King 9 offsuit, 10-9, Jack 10, King 9 is still in. It removes something, just a really small 4 hands it removed. So, whoops. Cancel. Oh, actually, let me show you. From the commands up here, range string output. So what it is it's taking the filtered range right now, and it just, when you Control Alt T that puppy, it pops up this filtered range. So Control Alt T, shebang, Control C to copy it, of course. Include weights. There's no weights, but we could do that in case there was some weighted stuff that we did up here. So Control C, and then now here is our new range, and we can actually go through and find an exact difference. And there's something. King Deuce of diamonds is kept in. King 3 of diamonds, so we removed King 3 of clubs, King 2. So that's what we removed. We removed the King Deuce of spades and the King Deuce of hearts because they did not have, and the King 3 of spades and King 3 of hearts because they did not have a 2-card backdoor flush draw. That's right. So those were removed, just those 2 hands. Everything else is in. Or 2 hands out of King Deuce, 2 hands out of King 3. Crazy. So that's all that was removed. Not much at all there. Let's see. So this new range now is actually at 401 combos. And it's 99% of our original range. 99%, 401 combos. Not much of a difference there. Hardly at all, but that's what happened on the flop. So as of right now, from his perspective, we have our entire opening range practically right here. We have lots of made hands, and he has lots of draws in his range, lots of weak pairs and stuff. But at this point, we're probably way ahead of him. Not probably, definitely way ahead. Let's see here. The 10 of hearts. Oh, let's see what that does to equities, or to our... Now, the 10 of hearts, if he had some kind of a gut shot like Jack 9, if he had a 96 suited even that he's willing to call with, or 9-6 off, whatever, he just outflopped us right there, or outturned us right there. But there's no reason to believe that this card is going to really affect the hand that much. We are just getting value. Maybe he had 10-8, maybe he had 9-10 for the open ender. Now hit a pair. Now we can get extra value out of the guy. That card is actually pretty darn good for us. It didn't break our hand necessarily, So let's see what we do at this point. We still just give him the Jack 10. That was just a random hand. If a 9 comes up, he has a straight, but that's just a random hand. So we bet $3 right here. What was the bet sizing? So 2/3 pot. Now 3 is actually 3/4 pot right here, so I upped my sizing to get extra value out of the guy. He called the flop. Why wouldn't he call the turn on this 10 right here? And he calls. Yes, we're getting extra value. So what are we betting now? The 10 hits. It might have helped us, it might not have, but he checked and we bet again. We need to figure out from his perspective, what are we betting? Well, we're betting our straights at this time. We're betting our sets for sure to continue getting that value, even though the board got a little bit scarier for sets. 2 pair, yeah, we're still betting there. Over pairs now, this is the question. Totally, all those over pairs are still top pairs now. Now a new over card came to the board, so there's different top pairs in our range than were before. But I would say all of these are definitely still betting. Now, the fact that I increased my bet sizing from 2/3 to 3/4 pot, I went from a little over $1 to $3, says that I really like my hand. Do I like all of these hands that much to be betting that? Well, I would say, if you look at those, the 10-9 is a top pair plus an open-ender. Jack-10, top pair plus a gut shot. And the Queen-10 and better is a top pair plus a decent kicker. So I would say there's a good chance that I am, from his perspective, I'm betting with all those this exact same at this sizing right here. Pocket pair below top pair, pocket 9s I think would bet less, is my guess. Well, I am open-ended. I still have an overpair to the flop. It's possible I could be betting $3 right there. Just knowing myself, I would size it at 2/3 pot, but I have 0 hands on the guy, only 1 actually, and he's not going to know that about me at this point. So I think I could be betting that 3/4 pot right there. He doesn't necessarily know that that I have a value hand at this point. So we could say that those would be betting this. Now middle pairs, a lot of those middle pairs, sure, picked up a draw or picked up a better draw if I already had one and stuff, but are they betting that much? I don't think from my perspective, from his perspective, I would be betting this much again. Probably keep it at 2/3 pot, maybe even just double it to $2.25 right around there, or $2.50 even. $3 feels like I'm going for extra value. So we'll take those out of my $3 betting range. Now weak pairs, possibly just checking behind some of these as well, but some of these, like the weak pairs, 7-6 has a gut shot, 7-5, 9-7. Yeah, I would say that a lot of these are checking behind when it comes to weak pairs. Ace highs, probably checking behind as well here. Let me take a look at them. Yeah, we could say those are checking behind or betting less. Like I said, this is a bigger sized bet that I'm making on the turn. No mate hand. Now flush draws can totally be making a 3/4 pot size bet. No flush draws, no. But let's keep open-ended straight draws and gut shots at making this 3/4 pot sized bet. So let's filter that down right now. So we've taken our range from 486 down to 241. Pretty decent. We'll hit Control-Alt-T again. Control-C to copy that range. Paste that in here. Make a little note. At 3/4 pot size bet, it feels mostly for value. Now, the percent of the previous 241 hands, the percent of the previous range is 64%. 241. So yeah, we've narrowed our range from 486 to 241, which is great. We've taken away half of our range. Or from our opponent's perspective, he could at this point take away half of our pre-flop range to give him a better idea of what we have, so that he can make better turn or better river decisions at this point. All right, so that's it. Remember, this is just a random. I don't know what he has actually. Let's click it. Yeah, he never shows because I win the hand. He mucks it. It's ACR, all that jazz. So let's see what happens. The 9 of clubs. 9 of clubs right there on the river. Okay, so now this is definitely not a good hand. This player could have been check calling I don't mean good hand, a good turn card for us. So this player could have easily been checking his flush draw the whole way. He could have called with a Jack 9 to start on the flop, even a Jack 8 with top pair with a weak kicker. He has plenty of jacks. He actually has some sixes in his range as well. Some of those weaker those weaker straight draws at the time when he called the flop of the turn. He has those, so that 9 of clubs doesn't do a whole ton of good for us, other than the fact that we have a flush now. So if he does have that jack, we have him beat. So yeah, we have a flush with our 5, 6 of clubs right here, which is great. Not a straight flush. He does have a few different ace X combos in his own range over here, but you know, we're not going to put him on that necessarily. I think this is definitely worth a bet, especially if he checks to us, because there's so many different straights that he could have that we're getting value from. Great. So on the flop, 2/3 pot bet. On the turn, 3/4 pot bet, going for max value. Now on the river, betting less than half pot, and I think the reason I'm betting this is because I want value out of the guy. There's so many straights possible right now with any random 6, any random jack. He also has like a 10-9 2 pair that he might give us value with. He might even decide to call with a queen 10 that he called on the turn with, just for the hopes that he's good. I mean, he's an unknown to us right now. So I think this is definitely a bet worth making. I like the sizing too, because we have him crushed right here. Sure, he has a few clubs, but hardly any in his range. We got the guy crushed. So what are we betting at this point? What should he be thinking about? Well, from his perspective, we bet again. So we're betting our flushes, totally. We're betting our straights as well, I would say. We're betting our sets to get value. For one thing, you know, to get thin value out of any 2 pairs that might call, and we can't necessarily just put them on a flush that hit on that river. 2 pairs, yep. Now the over pairs, are these betting? I think over pairs on this scary board are not betting. I think we can take those out of our range currently. Those top pair hands, which are all the various 10s, I don't need to flip back and forth, it's right here. So all those various 10s, ace 10, king 10, queen 10, I kind of doubt at this point, because I've been called on 2 different streets, his hand looks like a drawing hand. The river completed quite a few draws. I don't think I'm necessarily betting with the top pair here. 2 pair I can, because especially if it's some of those better 2 pair hands. So let's say, for example, 8-7, this was the flop, so 8-7 flop turn river betting. Yeah, I could be doing that. 9-7, I could have continued on the turn, or I could be betting on the river with 9-7. No, let's take that out of my range. I'm not betting with a 9-7 on a rivered 2 pair. I'm going to get happy that I got 2 pair on the river and just stick with that. But 10-7 on the turn 2 pair, I could be firing that again, because it's a top 2 pair hand with a 10. 9-8, let's take that out of the range. 10-9 and 10-9, yep, let's keep those 2 pairs in the range right here. Okay, so we filtered that down a little bit. Now, all these top pair hands, I think, are checking behind at this point. That board's so wet. And everything else, I think the worst hand that we're going for value with are these 2 pair hands. So let's filter that right there. Control Alt T to get the range. Make a little note. Only value betting 2 pair plus, and sizing at less than 0.5 pot is either for max value with our flush or for thin value with 2 pair. So it just depends on what we think at the time he's got. Of course, we have our flush, so we're going for max value. But from his perspective, we could be going for thin value, or even trying to pull off a bluff. You know, maybe we have a weak top pair hand, and we want him to fold his straight because the flush hit. So could be that as well. We could be doing a bluff. That's why we want the call, obviously. So what was here? 126 hands and 56%. Okay, so you could see from his perspective, if he was paying attention and assigned that pre-flop range, he took us down from 486 hands pre-flop all the way down to 126 hands. And if he did this properly, he would put us on a 2 pair hand on this board. So really, he should only be calling with the top 2 pair or better at this point. But he decides to call. Of course, we show the winning hand, and he mucks it. We'll never see it because it's ACR. But that is how we would hand read ourselves. We're looking at it from the opponent's perspective there. So we've got everything here. You can see how the hand range started off big and narrowed as the streets progressed right there. Took out a lot of like you can see Queen 10 of clubs in, but Queen 10 of spades and Queen 10 of hearts isn't in this range. So by doing this practice, we've narrowed our range down from 486 to 126 hands. 26%? Yeah, we've removed 74% of hands from our range. So doing this kind of practice will help us when we get to in-game play, not only ranging ourselves to understand how we play our game, but also this kind of practice just helps us range our opponents as we go down the streets. All right, so this was hand ranging ourselves today. Tomorrow we'll do range versus range. We'll look at his range and our range and how they meet head to head on the given board that we look at tomorrow. And we have a whole new sheet that we can be using, or that we will be using for this right here. Alrighty, close that hand. So like I said in today's agenda, next up is, well, that's not the agenda. Next up is LeakTracker to find some leaky stats. So clear those filters. So as you can see currently, as things have played out, I didn't play any hands yesterday doing the podcast, but we're negative $20 for the year to date, which isn't bad. We can definitely get this up. One good session can get us up to, I mean, we can win 3 or 4 buy-ins in a session. We could be up to plus $75 easily in one session, which would right this ship, which would turn everything around. But let's go to LeakTracker now. So LeakTracker is a super awesome program for cash game players that helps you just look for leaky stats, look for areas where you could be spewing money or not getting enough value, or whatever the case is. So you'll want to select your date range over here. So we chose for this year low stakes, short-handed tables, no limit or pot limit. There's also limit, but I don't play limit games. And then you just simply hit run analysis. So you could see, okay, 7,000 hands is what we have. It says more hands required for accurate results. I think you can start running this at 3,000 hands. Sure, it's not going to be the most accurate because 3,000 is such a short sample. You can even run this at 1,000 hands. That's fine. Because basically this doesn't tell me for sure that this stat is a leak. This gives me a general area to dive into to find my possible leaks by using the filters, and which we'll do that in a little bit. So just taking a look at this real quick. So you could see that we're on the, okay. So this gives you a spectrum right here. It doesn't show you numbers. You have to look closer, watch the video on the stat, and see your value to get an idea of where things are at. So let's click on VPIP right now. Voluntarily put money into the pot. When you click on each stat, different information pops up. So you could see this is the description of the stat. So if you don't know what this is about, that'll help. Gives you a formula for exactly how it's calculated, and it tells you your value. And it gives a determination. There's good, there's needs improvement. I don't think there's an excellent, but there's good. Let's see what this is, because that's right in the middle. I don't think it's, yeah, there's no excellent or anything. There's just good. There's needs improvement and potential problem. Which, let's see a potential problem one right here. Turn aggression factor, potential problem. Yep. So voluntarily put money in the pot. Everybody knows what this is. It's just you choosing to put money in the pot. You can see I'm on the low end of things at 17% of the time, which is pretty low. I'm a really tight, aggressive player. But let's watch the video on this stat. This video tells you, well, forget it. I'm not going to tell you. Let's watch it. And I'm pretty sure you'll be able to hear it. I'll turn the volume up. You can turn the volume down as the stat plays. Hopefully that should be good for you.
Voluntarily put money in the pot, also known by the acronym VPIP, is the percentage of time that a player voluntarily contributed money to the pot, given that he had a chance to do so. LeakTracker's research shows that the average player's winning VPIP for low-stakes no-limit hold'em short-handed games is found to be between 16.5 and 30.1%, but a VPIP between 16.5 and 30.
Okay, good. So before it disappears, so let's start just making some notes right here. Oh no, not for LeakTracker. Let's just watch the rest of this video, and then we'll look at my leak.
But a VPIP within this range does not guarantee that.
So these are the different ranges that PokerTracker, through its research and everything, it knows that the average winning players is somewhere in these high stakes, low stakes. Of course, we're looking at low stakes. I don't play heads up, but I do play full ring and short-handed. So for me, I want my VPIP between 16.5 and 30%, somewhere in that range. And like he says, just because your numbers are within this range doesn't make you a winning player. It's everything else combined, but this is just one indicator among all the other stats that you're a good player or not, or that you have leaks in this area. And I would say for myself, I have a leak in this area. I should be playing more hands.
You're a winning player. There are many other factors involved. If you're not playing enough hands, your opponents may target you as predictable and easy to play against. Conversely, playing too many hands may be considered an even bigger problem because your range will be weaker on all streets than your opponent's likely range. If you find yourself playing too many hands and you need to reduce your VPIP, the most common adjustment would be to fold more frequently in early position or out of the blinds in order to avoid playing out of position post-flop.
For me, one of my big things is VPIP. Just by looking at this and just knowing my style of play, because I know that my own, I have a big leak when I'm calling out of the blinds, and it's something, if you've been watching prior study sessions, I've been really targeting and thinking about and working on improving. I need to be calling more. So instead of folding a lot less, I shouldn't say that. Instead of calling a lot less, what I could be doing is a lot more 3-bet re-steals with hands with some equity, because we all know cutoff and the button are steal percentages. When you're in the blinds and you face one of those, more likely than not, it's a steal. So I should be targeting more 3-bet re-steal opportunities right there against players who are likely to fold. Versus foldy openers. Yep.
Playing a tighter range of hands will make playing post-flop less complicated.
Cool. So that's the kind of video that you see when you go through these stats, and it helps you if you don't understand the stat at all. Those are perfect for helping you learn them. So VPIP is low, PFR low, the ratio is decent, you know. There's not a big gap there. 3-bet is on the low side, but let's find one that that's obviously an issue for us. So fold to turn bet percentage. Description is right there. It's basically folding to any bet on the turn. Fold it divided by opportunity to fold, and I'm at 77% of the time. Now this is a potential problem. Let's watch the vid. Where's that? Fold to flop bet, fold to turn bet, right down there. So you can see we're way high, 77%. Average winning range should be. So let's watch the video. Let's also see what else I can do to improve this stat. What the video tells me, at least.
Fold to turn bet is a measurement of the percentage of the time that a player folded to any open bet on the turn, given that he had a chance to do so. The turn is often a pivotal street because draws that are unlikely to fold the flop either complete or have diminished equity. LeakTracker's research.
Let's make a note of that. Makes sense. It is a pivotal street. We all know it is. The turn is where you decide. And in limit hold'em, it's where the big bet comes in, you know. So that's definitely where you decide to go with the hand or not. And oftentimes in no limit, same exact thing happens because you only have one more street to catch the cards you need, and that can really affect your decisions.
Shows that the average winning players fold to turn bet at low stakes, no limit hold'em shorthanded games is found to be between 43.9 and 67%.
44 and 67 is where our stats should be. (44 to 67% in that range. So you can see we're quite a bit high. I need to bring this down. How can we go about doing that?
The results within this range will not guarantee that you're a winning player. There are many other factors involved. If you find that you are folding the turn too often, determine if you are seeing the turn too frequently by reviewing your actions on previous streets.
So we'll start with that one here.
Additionally, you can try calling or raising more often when you're able to represent a strong hand and potential for fold equity exists.
So of course I can increase my, I can utilize fold equity on the turn by betting or raising myself, but I can also do it on the prior street. So let's say I am facing a c-bet on the flop and my opponent c-bets 80% of the time, but maybe he also follows it up with a 70% turn c-bet. So I know that the guy likes to double barrel. Well, instead of calling the flop and hoping to hit on the turn, why not just check raise or raise his c-bet if I'm in position, raise it on the flop now to give myself fold equity, as well as not having to rely on hitting the turn. Because if I miss the turn, I'm already expecting him to double barrel. I might as well put that extra money in now with fold equity. I don't necessarily want to call two streets, call passively two streets. What would be better was instead putting that money in on the flop as a raise for fold equity instead of just passively calling two streets and hoping to hit on the river. Definitely. So I can utilize that flop fold equity as well. That would be a good idea here. Or not here, but I mean in general, it's a good idea to at least start employing.
You're not folding the turn often enough. Perhaps you should explore folding more marginal hands and draws, or decreasing your light turn aggressive actions.
So that is that one right there. One thing you also want to think about, of course, is the filter. How would we filter for these instances? Fold to turn bet. Well, very simple. You would, I guess, turn on, you could say, any fold. Any turn fold, we could say right there. And then you can go through those hands and take a look. What you can also do, actually, let's do this instead. Turn on any fold. Also filter for fold turn as well as call flop. So we'll do two different filters right here. Because I had said we can also get aggressive and start raising on the flop for fold equity instead of just calling on the flop and hoping we hit or hoping he doesn't barrel. So let's look at this now. Go back to stats. So that first filter we had discussed was turn on, just folding on the turn. Let's just see what happens right here. Folded to a bet, nice and simple. Forgot what it was called exactly. Fold to bet. Turn on. There we go. Fold to turn bet. Alrighty, so no matter what, when you're folding, if it's anywhere beyond the flop, you've put money in. You're going to be a loser. Like, none of these hands are winning hands because we folded. But the thing to look at is that seems like it's a really high amount of big blinds to lose per 100 hands. It feels really high. I don't necessarily know that it is. I haven't done any research to see what. Actually, let's take a look real quick. Fold to turn bet was 530. Fold to flop bet, negative 289. It makes sense because the pots are smaller. We're losing less money overall when we're folding the flop. So 289, and the other one was 540. But what if we fold the river? $645. So it does make sense that the amount that we're losing overall just gets bigger or the win rate, I guess, gets worse as you fold on later streets because there's more money in the pot in general as the streets progress, obviously. But I don't know what is exactly a good number here as far as win rate goes. What matters, though, is the hands that come up and what we do about studying them. So turn folds, fold to do a turn bet. Great. So let's take a look right here. We'll just start with the button, nice and simple, because we're in position. Why are we folding in position right now? Let's sort this by whole card strength. So we can take a look at some of our strongest hands. We can also look at the strongest hands in conjunction with a flop. Let's find one where we folded like a top pair. Oh, not many here, or not any yet. King Jack folded an open ender. We didn't hit anything. The flush completed. Okay. Ace King. The Jack hit. The King. I'm not seeing many top pairs I'm folding. Maybe I just don't really fold many top pairs. Okay, let's just take a look at, for example, let's just go with these first three Ace King hands. We'll just start there. Actually, no. Well, we'll just look at one hand because I want to do another filter right here. So, a relatively unknown but a loose aggressive looking player decides to open the pot. We come in for the 3-bet. And he calls. Great. So, on a 5-8-8 flop, this is a chicken board, which we discussed last week. This is a flop that I need to be c-betting at for sure. For one thing, for fold equity. For another thing, sure, he could have a lot of overcards, king, queen, king, jack, jack 10, queen 10, all that kind of stuff that might call because he's such a loose, aggressive guy. The pot's already almost a stack-to-pot ratio of 1, 1.5 or so, but still, I mean, that if he wins that pot, that would be a pretty good addition to his short stack here. So we can think that he's calling a whole lot when I bet, but I didn't bet. I should have right there for the fold equity at least. Now the 5 comes. Now, of course, if he had a 5 or an 8, he would have checked the flop, hoping that I would bet. We didn't bet, so he bets. But look at the size of that. He's barely going for value right there. It could be either a really thin value bet or going for just a straight bluff because we checked on that scary board. And of course, we decide to fold. Now, this is one of those instances where I could have easily used some flop aggression to get fold equity to win that hand outright right then. Because, I mean, if you think about it, it's a 3-bet pot. Winning that 485 is a great outcome. What is that? 20 big blinds almost right there for me making a bet here. I should have gone with it. And so this guy's loose aggressive, right? Let's say I did bet, before that came out, let's say I bet just half pot. If I bet $2.50, he could shove his $7.50, but he could be shoving with 6-7, 7-9 for a gutter. He could be shoving his 9s, 10s, jacks, and queens that he didn't decide to 4-bet with pre-flop. And we still have 6 overs to that. He could be shoving king, queen, king, jack, ace 4, ace deuce, a couple of hearts or a couple of diamonds for some backdoor draws. There's so much that he could be shoving as a bluff. I don't mind at all calling off. So if we would have bet 250 here, calling the other 7, I would have been fine with it. So I should have thought about that ahead of time. I don't know what was going through my mind. I just checked behind. I should have bet right there. So that's one obvious instance. So that was that first filter. So we can go through and we could take a look at all these different hands, maybe go by card strength, because on a pocket 7s, look at that. Oh, let's look at this hand. What's going on here? I raise, get a call. Okay, great. On a jack 5-3. Now, a jack 5-3 is kind of a tough board to hit, There's a few jacks in his range. Of course, he could have a set of 3s, a set of 5s, pocket jacks that he didn't 3-bet with. But he has plenty of non-paired hands on this board. All of those middle cards, the 7-8, the 6-7, the 4-5, oh no, 4-5 has a pair, 8-9, 10-8, queen 10, queen 8, all that kind of stuff that he called with preflop, completely whiffed. I should have thrown out the c-bet here, because obviously I have second pair to the board. If he doesn't have a jack, I have him beat. And now what happens was the 6 hits, and we pick up a gut shot. And then he bets a pretty decent sized bet, and so of course we fold, just because of my passive nature, my natural tendency to fold when I don't have anything on the turn. This is what I need to work on. This is definitely a spot where I should have gotten aggressive pre-flop with, not pre-flop, should have gotten aggressive on the flop with a bet for fold equity. And then if he decided to call, great, he's often checking this turn right here. And then I have my pocket sevens, still second pair, which could be best. And I could just check behind if I want to see that free river, catch the 4 on the river, and take his stack, or whatever the case is, you know. So I really screwed this hand up as well. For sure, right there. So pocket sevens. So when you're going through these hands with this filter, take a look at the hand strength in conjunction with the board and see why you folded. A hand like this, sure, I had top pair on the flop, so I just called as well, top pair weak kicker. But then the ace comes, it's a scary overcard, completes the flush. I just folded at that point. Yep. So let's see what this other one was. The filter was a fold turn as well as call on the flop. Ah, interesting. So why am I calling the flop but folding the turn? Folded on the turn. Let's add a filter. Any call. So called on the flop, folded the turn. Of course, this is going to be negative because we folded and we lost the pot no matter what. But you can see this is a bigger number folding on the turn, 841 big blinds per 100, and that's because the pot was built up. We called on the flop, which just built the size of that pot, and then we folded on the turn to a bigger pot. So this is just a bad situation. It is only 20 hands, but it's something that definitely need to look at. And over 20 hands, you can easily in one study session go through all of these hands and make a game plan on how we can avoid this kind of calling flop, folding turn stuff. So let's look at this. We have a weak ace. Why are we in this hand with an ace-8 offsuit anyway? Okay, open from the button. I'm good with that. And we get a caller from a player here who, 16% total, call pre-flop 2-bet. But what is it in the big blind? Nothing yet so far. So we can possibly put on slightly wider than a 7% range. We could say they're calling 10% or so. Now, this is great. We hit that nut flush right now, nut flush draw. He checks. We bet, which I'm definitely down with. But then we get check raised right here. So this is a spot I can pretty much guarantee I call. Ah, darn, I shouldn't have called. Okay, so this is a spot right here. If we are... actually, this is a really good spot to do this with. Ace, what was my other one? Diamonds. Ace-8 of diamonds. Let's give him a calling 2-bet range of 13%. We said maybe 10%. So far, it looks like 16%. We can go wider because he's on the big blind and getting a discount. Let's say this is the calling range right here on a queen 5-3 all hearts. So on this flop right here, we have the nut flush draw. We got 9 draws or 9 outs to the nuts at this point. The 8's not doing us any good. It's basically a blank. Even if we hit an 8, we're not going to be happy. 8 of hearts, actually, we'll be happy. On this board right here, we decide to lead out, which is perfectly fine. We've got a great hand, but I think this is the opportunity to come in with a re-raise. So let's see what we think this guy, if this is his range, we're currently ahead of it, 57%. What is he making this check raise with? Flushes, sure, trying to get value out of us. It's possible, because the pot is only $1.60 and we just bet $1. He could be definitely raising with his flushes. With his sets, yep, totally with sets. There's no 2 pairs, Top pair hands, is he raising this with top pairs? Probably not, but we're going to have some flush draws in his range down here. Some of these top pairs with flushes might be doing it right here. Top pairs with a flush draw, I mean to say. So they could be doing it. Let's see. Let's not put the top pair in, but let's keep in that flush draw range right there. Oh, well. Yeah, top pairs with flush draws. Pocket pair below top pair could be doing it as a straight bluff. You can see all those 10s and 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s because it is a scary flop. They could be doing it just for the bluff. The middle pairs are possibly doing it, weak pairs as well. Ace highs, let's not put those in. And let's put in the third nut flush draw. Let's put in the weak flush. No, what are the weak ones? Probably, yeah, all those just random. We have the ace, not the king. So I guess it's the tens. The tens are what we're looking at. Yeah, the fourth nut flush right there. Let's not put those in as raising hands. Open end straight draw, no. Gut shots not raising either like this. Possibly just calling or just folding with the gut shots. But yeah, let's put this range in. So we narrowed him down to 45% of his original range. Well, if we look at the combos right here, 85 combos are what's making this. Or what's making the check raise to us right here. Now, if we decide to come over with a 4-bet, what are they folding? Quite often, we could say these. There is no nut flush draw. We have that. The weak pair, the middle pair, the pocket pair, those top pair with flush draws because they're all weaker than ours. Maybe the nut flush draw is continuing. All those kings, let's say that those are. And then the sets are continuing as well. So out of those 85 hands that we put in his check raising range, he's only continuing to a 4-bet with 22 hands, which is 1/4 of the time. He's folding 75% of the time to a 4-bet right here. I think this is a spot where we must 4-bet. 4-bet or fold at this point. If we think he's only doing this with a nutted hand, then totally fold. Like if he already has like the king 10 of clubs or king 10 of hearts, I mean, that means that he's got his flush already. He has 2 blockers. We only have 7 outs right here to the nut flush. And so it's not worth raising because he's only calling with his flush. Let's take a look at his fold to 3-bet here. Not fold to 3, I'm sorry, fold to C-bet right here. Out of position, he folds 50% of the time. He hasn't done any check raises yet. But it's only been 3 instances or 3 possible times he could do it. We can't really read into that. We can't say that this is definitely for value at this point. I think this is a 4-bet or fold instance. So without a doubt, I should have been. That's one of the big things here. Yep, exactly. So look for spots to get aggressive on, on the flop to avoid folding on the turn when my draw doesn't come in. Absolutely. That's a key thing for me right there. So it looks like now I've found some more really good leaks for me to dig into, 100% of the time. So I will spend a full hour going through all these 20 hands and looking for spots. Maybe some hands are good folds. Maybe I got to the turn, maybe I called with a good draw, but his bet sizing tells me that he definitely has it. Maybe his player type and tendencies and his stats tells me he definitely has it. And if I'm drawing to a weaker hand. It's possible, but the only way to find out is if I go through all of these 20 hands. So I will be doing that for sure because this is a big leak of mine. You can see how much I'm losing, especially when I call the flop and then fold the turn. Alrighty, so let's take a look here at my agenda. So tomorrow, it'll be the last day, day 14 of looking through LeakTracker. So we're going to do one more hand reading practice. My range versus their range. We'll also look through this Black Rain article, and then we'll follow the steps that he talks about when going through your database, in PokerTracker 4. So that's going to be a good day tomorrow. Alrighty. Well, I feel much better about this redo of day 13. This video is going to be so much better. The other one just had lots of problems with just the audio, and with my going back and forth between windows, I just screwed stuff up. And then so this one is so much better. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or have any requests, let me know. Sky@smartpokerstudy.com. So until next time, I'll catch you later.